security system. I trust the mechanicals will sort you out. Good luck.
Now hold on. I thought this place was supposed to be abandoned. You think that could have been the spooky voice from OCI?
Oh, 100%.
One calling themselves Ghost?
Rockavis, thank you very much for continuing the gift sub you got from Silly Pseudonym. And Jeremy's in chat, and welcome to the Republic. Okay, so we do have a good shock weapon. In fact, we've got 2 good shock weapons if we want to pull back out that cannon. Pavati is such a good companion. Yeah, I can't go off of the ship without Pavati now, because I feel like if I miss out on Pavati content, I'm missing out on some of the best content in the game. And, like, I would love to see some of the stuff from the other companions, certainly. But I can only ever see something from one other companion at a time, because Pavati is a locked slot. That is a lot of ammo! Oh. Uh-oh. That is a lot of ammo. This is an arena, then. 100% every single time. I've played a video game before. I played a game in my lifetime. I've Jamesed all the videos. Dark Souls, Legend of Zordlo. I actually did just finish Breath of the Wild recently. And now I'm doing more completion on it. Like, I went back to actually continue it as well. You were supposed to be susceptible to this weapon. What on earth? What's the damage of the thunder then? 138. 120. Thunder's way higher DPS. Wow. Not only that, but it also has the ability to critical hit, so Thunder is going to be so much better for us. I'm wearing the right hat. Oh, that's right. Silly was the one that gave me a sub a month to go to. Yeah, that is it's a common story around these parts, Arthur. Silly has been incredibly generous in keeping us in sub chat mode a lot of the time as well. It's very sweet, very much appreciated. Ooh. Jeweled rings. What's the Ford exosuit? Don't really need that one. Okay, so we've got. Not necessarily Marauders. Well, yes, necessarily Marauders. We've got Marauders in here that are already dead, which means that Marauders tried to take this facility as well. I'm trying to read as much as I can from the way they designed these and what that means. Because I find, especially with, you know, this and Fallout New Vegas, so like Obsidian's games, Fallout 1 and Fallout 2 also had like a lot of elements of this, but I find I only get rewarded by asking those questions in games like this. I didn't feel that way in Fallout 3 and Fallout 4, which was part of the reason. I don't need to get into that, but it is part of what I definitely appreciate about these games. People keep saying Fallout 3 was better for environmental storytelling and then Fallout New Vegas had a better world, and I'm like, which games did you play? I'm flummoxed by that.
This lab must have been their whole life.
I'm absolutely bamboozled. Jasper's key? That sounds useful. It's just a save in the wall that we don't get to access at all. Rude. I thought NV had some amazing environmental stories. So did I. It's possible people are just discounting the DLC, and if they're doing that, maybe it's more of a case, but still, I don't necessarily believe it's a case, but still. It would make more sense if they were specifically not talking about the DLCs. Because the DLCs are champions of environmental storytelling. Dead Money is insane. Dead Money is so thick with environmental storytelling, you can barely move. There's no part for the... Sometimes, when I play Dead Money, I suffocate to death. And that's because the environmental... The plot... The environmental plot is so thickened that I cannot get any oxygen into my systems. Hey Chad, any thoughts on the BG3 opening cinematic? It is rad as absolute hell. I am... Oh, good lord. It's feeling like that's going to be probably my next big RPG love. I'm not going to play it in early access at all, but it feels... I can feel it. I remember how I felt when I saw Outer Worlds for the first time, and it's not dissimilar. Although, I'm not chat, so I wasn't supposed to answer that one. That's my bad. I apologize. We'll get back to the games now. I think Fallout 3 did a very good job on the environmental storytelling of the vaults specifically, and that varied by vaults. Even then, so did NB. That's the thing. Like the things... I think part of it is, like, they definitely both did it in elements, right? But I think that Fallout New Vegas just did it better. And it just irks me to see how common people have the opinion otherwise. Because, like, I'm not obviously here saying it irks me that everyone else is wrong. Instead, what I'm saying here is that the fact that so many other people think the other way makes me feel like I might be wrong. In which case, what happened? How'd that happen? It's possible I just played Fallout 3 too long ago to actually appreciate it. That's also possible. I wasn't necessarily super critical with the games I was playing back in 2008. Oh shit. That game came out 12 years ago. The biggest mistake was having New Vegas with all of its DLCs be my first Fallout and then going to Fallout 4 and expecting similar amazing storytelling. Yeah, that is... I hate to say it, but that is, yeah, a huge mistake. That is... I went Fallout 3 to Fallout New Vegas, then Fallout 1, Fallout 2, then Fallout 4, and I replayed New Vegas a couple times in the middle. And I replayed 1. I haven't replayed 2. I need to replay 2. I played through 2 with a very, very high int build, and that locked me out of some really cool content in that game. Like, I don't have to go a, like, no int build to have fun in that game at all, certainly, but, like, 3 int, if anyone knows what I'm talking about, you know what I'm talking about right now. Or if anyone is familiar, you know what I'm talking about right now. But 3 int feels like where I probably want to be at. I'm gonna have to get out of the room. And my first game was Super Mario on the NES, though I was pretty proud of getting through Mega Man 2's jumping puzzles. I think I played Super Mario on the NES when I was a kid as well. At like one time at a friend's house. That might have been my first experience playing any game on a console, actually. I remember that day pretty intently, because I just watched a TV show. I just watched an animated TV show. I think I was like something like 8 at the time or something like that. I just watched an animated TV show that had a goose in it, and the goose kind of looked like the mother of a friend of mine, like a family friend's mother. And I was at their house, and so I just said, "Kathy, you're a goose." And she looked at me, and like in Australian parlance, goose is like, you're silly, you're dumb, like you like, or at least it's commonly used that way. It may be elsewhere as well. But I said that, and she turned to me and said, "Is that a compliment or an insult?" Now, I'm 8 years old, and at this point, I didn't know what compliment or insult meant, but I chose correctly. I have so many memories of times like that where someone was like, "Oh, did you mean that in this way or this way?" And I didn't remember how to answer at all, but I just chose the right one, thankfully. My life could have gone completely differently if I flipped that coin the other way and then got slaughtered by my family friend's mother for calling her a goose. I remember when I was like 6 as well, there was another family friend, but this was a younger guy, and I believe he was trying to make fun of me in retrospect, which... You picked a good fight, man. Well done you. But he knew I wouldn't understand the words, so he looked at me and he said, "Are you homosexual or heterosexual?" Now, in retrospect, there is no way I could have answered him at the time, given the parameters of your question, that would have been correct.
The effects of Compound X are inescapable. The refined excrement of the xenocyte life form. It's a fine powder, very fine. It finds its way into absolutely everything. Even in the water now, and the air. It settles like a veil over all of Gorgon. The laboratory techs get the worst of it. We all appreciated the boost to mood and productivity at first, but we're at each other's throats in an instant now. I've had to break up 2 fistfights this week alone. This aggression must be inherent to the formula, to Compound X. How do I stop it?
Okay, so, Olivia... what's your take on bisexuality versus pansexuality? Okay, so, I describe myself as bi/pan. And the reason that I do that is because, in my estimation, bisexual, because heterosexual means attracted to people of the same gender, and homosexual means, homosexual means attracted to people of the same gender, hetero means people of the other gender, homo being same, hetero being different. Different. Not opposite. Different. It is my stance that bisexuality is an attraction to your own and other genders. However, some people also feel that the bisexuality holds up the gender binary, and while I have sympathy for that argument, I don't use the nomenclature that it would prefer I use. I also think that I do also call myself pan as a way to clarify. Honestly, it is extremely semantic, and the only people that care about it are the people in the bisexual and pansexual communities. And honestly, like, there are infinitely more arguments about those two things, like using the terminology of those two things, than there are effects of using either of those labels. It is a weird debate to be having, but I will clarify. It seems weird to me from the perspective of the people who want, pansexual to mean what I use bisexual to mean. It seems weird to me, or rather maybe like inclusive bisexuality or something. Like maybe there's a compromise here, but it seems weird to me to then prop up pansexuality as like omnisexuality, right? Which is another terminology that's being used. Because then, in turn, are you not then condemning bisexuality to be exclusive and binary by arguing that it is and something else? It's weird. It's weird. I don't have like a super strong stance. I would love to have a conversation with someone who actually legitimately stands on the other side of this and would like to talk about it. That would be an interesting debate, I think, because I lack the perspective to understand. I lack the perspective to understand the breadth of any negative consequence of using bisexual. Dear sir and or madam. Kind of inclusive message there. A little bit. This is an automated message triggered by Spacer's Choice Contingency Management Program. Please do not respond to this message. Congratulations! Contingency #77-1 abundance of raw material is now in effect. Due to a higher than projected volume of Compound X harvested in this laboratory, your production quotas have been raised by 200%. Please bear in mind that the bi-weekly quota reviews are automatically generated and forwarded to Project Gorgon Administration and the Office of Creative Incubation. Any dereliction of production will be reflected in your reviews. Experimental notes. Error not found. Experimental notes not found. Memory retrieval failed. Corruption detected in memory unit. Physical damage detected. 1 log remaining. Okay, we'll look at that one. This is the area that went halfway to Trant, Raps. Do you mean Trant Heidelstand? I've always agreed with your perspective, and while I've dated bisexual men, more bi men I've found recently have been much more closeted in their same-sex attraction, and either homoromantic or still self-closeted enough to not really allow for homoromantic feelings. It's odd. I would wager that some part of the still relevant but decreasing public stigma about bisexual men contributes to that heavily. I know that, like, as I was I was part of a queer gaming community for a fair period of time, or accidentally started a queer gaming community which I then abandoned, called Gamers here in Sydney. It was a branch of Gamers. Gamers was a subreddit that existed on Reddit at the time, and that was effectively a local meetup that I was trying to organize for the first one. But I found a lot in that space because I was already identifying as bisexual. I kind of like. I gotta say, I didn't really struggle with discovering myself. It was very much like one day I was like, oh, okay. Guess that's the thing as well then. And in that space, oftentimes I would have gay guys between the age of, 18 up through 30, just like, okay, but what percentage are you really? What's the last time you jerked off to straight porn? I'm like, by the way, that's not like a stereotype of a character I'm doing. I'm actually doing the voice of the person who would continually ride me about it for years. Ugh. Open last entry. It's a weird stream. I'm going back. I like the pace of this stream. I do. It's just weird to go back and forth in the same way that we're currently doing at the moment, but experimental log, S. Dunlop, junior professor, researcher rather, sorry. Experimental enrichment of compound X, attempt 89. It seems like they're very interested in you. Oh yeah, at some points they were very explicit about trying to kind of... I had just turned 18 and this guy was like 30 and being real weird with all of the younger guys in the group, and then became like part of the administration of the group. It was so up. I have so many stories, but none of them are good. They're all bad from that period of time of interactions with that person in that community. Not that community. There were a bunch of people that were good in that community, and I met Pete through that community. But ugh. Like he would neg every single younger. Anyway, and it would be weird. He would neg someone and then immediately turn around in the next sentence with like an over the top lascivious, like it was like really bad, you know? Anyway, blank. Hey, welcome back with food. I hope you're having some good food. If it helps at all, by the way, I certainly try not to, but I occasionally indulge in Schadenfreude. That person's life fell apart because they were toxic to a bunch of people, and they deserved it. Sorry. They constantly rebuffed attempts to help and just really burned every bridge, and part of me is very happy to see it. Sorry. Okay, expose chemical X to N-rain concentrate for 30 seconds. Consulted research notes. Notes incomplete and damaged. Did it for 60 seconds. Sample failed. Toxicity levels high. Disposed rather. Exposed chemical X sample for attempt 90. Woke up. Fell asleep at table. Sample failed. Overexposure to lab atmosphere. Okay, so this is yeah. So that only happened 20 minutes. Researcher's addendum. Unplanned sabotage event destroyed any related research notes. Forced to rely on outdated notes. Suspected time lost 6 to 16 months. Attempt to replicate research unsuccessful. Will try again after resting eyes for a minute. Okay, so this is just the story of someone being overworked and as a result failing to perform well at their job and causing a negative outcry. Do you still identify as bi? Oh yeah, I still identify as bi/pan. I clarify it relatively commonly, but also, depending on the person that I'm talking to, I will say one or the other sometimes, because it's like, I know this is the one you're familiar with, or I know you're familiar with the definitions I'm using, which makes it a lot easier to do. Maxwell, thank you very much for the gift of tier 1 sub to Gas Guardian. Gas Guardian, enjoy your emotes in chat, and welcome to the Republic. All right, let's return to the route. Like, if he had a turn for the worse, I want to explore this for a moment, right? If he had a turn for the worse in terms of health, I wouldn't feel good about taking any Schadenfreude in that. However, it's specifically because it was his own actions that kept disadvantaging him, because he just could not stop being a rampant narcissist. And look, he definitely needs help, but also it is not the job of the people around him that he would continually abuse to help him in those scenarios, right? So like, yeah, I think it is the locus of the downfall that makes Schadenfreude especially palatable in certain circumstances, you know? I will say, and then we will move off of this topic, that is part of the reason I think a lot of people had a very Schadenfreude experience with hearing that Trump had gotten COVID. Because it is not just a turn for a worse, it is very much a thing that he did to himself and others. And now we're going to move off the topic, because talking about that doesn't make anyone happy, and it just makes everyone very sad as we all get frustrated gazing into the abyss. I apologize to just tag an issue like that and then run away. But I actually legitimately believe that is the most mature way to approach this right now.
This corridor is a death trap.
Yeah, no kidding. Let me hack something. Hey! Did you hear the explosion? Whatever. Ah, there's wall mines. Right, that's where the explosion came from. Got it. Hang on while my eardrums pop back in. Ooh, self-patching. What's self-patching? Have I seen that before? Self-patching reduces armor degradation. No, I thought it was going to be like, you know, automatically use Adreno when you're on low health or some such. Use active sight, geographic scanner. Plus 5 meters on interactable range. Would that be relevant for me? I feel like maybe that would be extremely relevant for my playstyle. Oh, you can break down weapons for weapon. I forgot that you could do this. This is, oh my God. I can't believe I forgot that you can do this. I've needed to do this for a while. I've been running out of weapon parts for ages. I should have done this so long ago. Didn't you have a very damaged weapon? Yes, but I need to get weapon parts to repair it as well. I'm trying to keep like one of each of the particularly high level things. That's a 2.0. That's probably not good yet. Have a second one of those. Yeah, what is this little tool here? What's the little bolt there? What's that doing? What's that mean? What's that all about? It was a legitimate question, if anyone should happen to know. Okay, good. Yeah, that's gonna be enough. We go to the repair and repair all equipped, but also, yeah, repair the hyper. Good. Hey, Mimps, what's up? Good to see you. We're just currently playing some Perils of Gorgon, the Outer World DLC. We are currently raiding the Office of Creative Incubation in order to try and get an override key so that we can access main facilities in order to get a journal to try and prove malfeasance on part of this company. They developed a drug on this planet that has killed everyone on this planet, or rather turned them into monsters. That is another, we talked about this prior, but again, I'll touch the point and then move away. That is another kind of similarity between this and Firefly, the kind of like Miranda and the Reavers versus Gorgon and the Marauders. They're very similar stories. The Doggo DLC? Is there a dog? Excusez-moi? Looks like a logo for Tool, as it's on a spade, pickaxe, and an axe. It sounds like it might be, right? Lab security, security office status. Alert security office status is access restricted. Administrative notice, all password protection is being disabled by office order of Lawrence Goodfellow. Privacy is a privilege and must be earned. Lift access restrictions. Administrator's notice, opening a security terminal is a privilege restricted to Space's Choice site safety engineers. Any unauthorized personnel operating a security terminal will receive an immediate reprimand. And that is the auto-mechanical hostility protocol. The reprimand they're talking about is just killing me. Remember the storyline with the illegal... Oh, yes, the Canids, Yes, I forgot about that. It's a sad quest. All right, let's disable that, obviously. Auto-mechanical status is disabled. Messages. To Low J subject resignation. From Tanaka S. Okay, I need a new voice then. Let's go Trent Heidelstein. Dr. Lowe. I've just finished filing my official report on the unplanned sabotage event. Unfortunately, filing a report on a sabotage event requires me to also include a list of the captured, apprehended, and neutralized saboteurs. Company policy. No list means I'm getting arrested for dereliction of duty, and you're getting penalized for hiring me. Saboteurs is plural. I can't include Mr. St. Germain's name and be done with it. As a last resort, I've been forced to include the names of all former employees whose contracts were recently terminated in the decimation. These researchers may no longer be part of the Project Gorgon and will not likely survive without a job, so I may as well use their names to save our jobs. I filed my report last night and haven't been to the sleep since. This is to let you know that I will be filing for transfer at the end of the next cycle. Signed, Trent Heidelstein. All right. From Jasper Lowe. Mr. Tanaka. No, I can't explain the primals. Primals defy explanation. Huh? No, okay. Please explain is probably first then. Sorry, my bad. Oh yeah, I did those in the totally wrong order. My bad. Dr. Lowe, I'm going to have to take a researcher's side on this one. Your absence during the emergency is conspicuous. I don't want to report you because I don't want corporate auditors scheduling interviews with the entire staff while they're trying to meet deadline. The unplanned sabotage event has already halted experimentation and development. We're trying to get our operations running again, and we could use all the help that we could get. You're already down one staff member. Saint Germain's gone. You know why. You owe this team an explanation to any number of grievances. Your absence is most urgent one. But I'll take an explanation as to why there are primals being held in the caverns near our waste disposal site. They're your primals, aren't they? Mr. Tanaka, no, I can't explain the primals. Primals defy explanation. They are a miracle of evolutionary adaptation and a treasure trove of interesting genetic material. I'm not going to explain my alleged absence either. This is because I am not absent at all. My presence is implicit in the work of my researchers. The researchers still employed in the department are skilled and are more than capable of repairing any damage done by the alleged saboteur. Please don't bother me again with trivial problems. You're the security chief. Stick to securing things, including but not limited to the safety of my lab and my privacy. Warm regards and pleasant felicitations, Dr. Jasper Lowe. All right. Now it's time to go find some more logs so we can do that again. Legit reading stuff out is like a large part of my favorite part of this game. Okay, we got Tanaka's spear there. Down here, that is two-handed melee. It's got shock on it, power attack, critical chance. Special effect bleed. Powerful enough for a guard, but made for a manager. Is there a single friendly message sent in this entire company? No. I don't know if I've read any logs that are positive. Like, some people will express, like, humanity when you talk to them, but very few of the logs do, at least in my experience, unless I'm forgetting some. I would be happy to definitely say that very little of them do. There may definitely be some that I just forget. Have you worked at a big company before? Oh, yes, I have. My last experience with a big company also ended in me quitting after wage theft. That is not to say also as in I am in this situation going to quit. It's just a remarkable similarity. I wonder if there's any commonality between those companies other than their size. Wage theft is so insanely common. So the thing is that, so originally the video was going to be longer, but I also know like watching that video is a pretty hard slug. Like you can see that I'm trying to keep it light, but it's pretty hard to watch at some points because it's pretty intense. I tried to not have it be that way, but it would feel inauthentic if I was able to, you know, keep composed through the entire thing, you know? But originally in that video, there were a couple extra parts. The section on joining your union was a longer section. And also, I was going to have a section where I spoke about wage theft specifically. Now, I left in the title YouTube, wage theft. Obviously, also the hashtag is YouTube wage theft. Now, I understand that I am not technically an employer or employed by them. I also understand that my income through them is not technically wage. However, I very specifically chose to, in the title and the hashtag, choose a pretty provocative way of framing it. However, it's also not, in its spirit, wrong. It is semantically, and if I was in a court of law, it would be not directly, something I could claim, because specifically there is a definition of wage theft. But when you do work for someone and then they promise to pay you for it, and then they withhold that payment from you, that That's pretty pure and clear and open. Just theft. Now, I say all of this because what was the thing I was bouncing off? Yeah, the original wage theft section that I cut out is I cut it out because I didn't want the YouTube video to also say wage theft a bunch of times in it. I wanted the kind of like public facing aspects of it to be very clear and provocative, but then to be as nuanced and clear as I possibly could in the video. I do call YouTube my employers one time in the video, but other than that, I'm unaware of any kind of like giant misspeeches. But I had to cut to the wage theft section because I didn't want to harp on that point and give more ammunition to people who would say, hey, it's not technically wage theft. And it's like, oh, that's not the point though. So the original section, this is what I'm getting to the entire time. The original section was going to be, hey, so this is a thing called wage theft. Also, wage theft accounts for the majority of actual theft in the United States. Here is a graph showing all of the different kind of the different sources of kind of like theft, I guess, is what I need to be using there as the word, in the United States. And also, isn't it weird? These ones are handled in civil court. These ones are handled in criminal court. There's giant enforcement mechanisms for these ones. These ones, there aren't. And they're getting weakened constantly. Isn't that weird? There was going to be like a whole section kind of on that, but yeah. I ended up cutting it. There was also going to be a section where I was talking about, I was effectively just going to say, I mean, look, you know, we're going to have to take the giant corporation at their words. When have giant corporations ever lied for their own benefit? And as I said that, the USSR anthem was going to start playing softly in the background. Now, I know the hornet's nest I would be kicking with that joke. I know. I cut out my two favorite jokes from or two favorite segments from the video, but nah.
Must be Doc Lowe's old
You know, just I didn't want, exactly, both of those were things that I knew would take attention off of the actual situation itself. And I need all attention on that video to be very specific. Yes, easily.
Especially after I've gone to so much effort to see Gorgon rest in peace. Why do you insist on waking it up?
The Gorgon's been a ruin for years and years. You think they've been here the whole time?
The Project Gorgon's dead, right? It's shut down for good. There's no way anybody could get this place running again.
There needs to be a better escalation process for issues like this. YouTube is such a black box when it comes to issues. So I will tell you, I through the support, I managed to ask for an escalation, and they escalated it to their internal team. And it's their internal team at this point that is saying that, oh, actually, no, all of everyone's views for that half month is invalid. I also ended up talking to someone as a result of releasing that video who noticed the bug happening on the first day it happened. That is to say, on the 14th of September. Now, the 14th, oh God, I didn't want to get into this. I'm going to be very quick. I'm going to get off the topic. The 14th of December to the 30th of December, or rather the 14th until like late September at some point. Actually, no, early October. Yeah, the 14th until the 30th, the income showed as normal. It got reduced after the fact, right? However, this guy had been tracking it happening from the 14th, which means that they didn't plan to pay us anything for that half month from the 14th onwards, the same period they're claiming that we got a bunch of invalid traffic. I lost my when I saw that message from him. Another person who was affected by this, who was also sending like, you know, screenshots of all of the kind of stuff from behind the scenes. It's not that they necessarily need a better escalations process. They need more transparency in their processes. What about today? Some people are reporting that it started happening to them again. It hasn't happened to me yet again this month. However, obviously. Well.
Night falls on Gorgon. Though I suppose it's always dark here in the void. The lab is empty, and I am at last alone. I'm preoccupied with thoughts of the single-celled xenocytes that make their home here on this rock. These primordial creatures persist despite the hostility of their surroundings. No, they require adversity to thrive. Perhaps that's why our bodies react to theirs. There is a harmony in us. The law didn't craft us for the void, yet we scrabble across its cold worlds, building, persisting, as the xenocytes do. We live. Against all odds, we live. But for how long?
There have been a lot of people talking about the YouTubers Union. I joined Jorge Sprav's YouTubers Union a very long time ago, I think in 2018, as they were having talks with IG Metal and YouTube itself. My understanding at the moment is that YouTube currently refuses to come to the table at all, and as a result, it's kind of not doing anything. That's my understanding of how it's going at the moment. Mips, yeah, you certainly can. Where should I look at for this? Oh, there it is. Okay, hang on. This is going on screen. Display capture, game capture off. Okay. Okay. Is this straight people voting? I mean... okay, so, hang on, let's turn off the display cap there. Oops. Then back on game cap. The question was, please tell me you dance like this. I can just see you doing it, it's amazing. I don't dance. Dancing typically occurs in locations where other people are also, and they are also doing it. And I get super nervous. The only times I've danced in public have been times where I have gotten to just the level of drunk where I was very clearly too drunk, but also just not drunk enough for it to be a problem. Like, it's super thin line. Peak laments that quite a lot because he loves dancing. He loves going out and dancing, and I just can't get out of my own head enough to do it. However, I will say, Mips, that is how I move when I'm cooking in the kitchen. So I will have two arms out in two different directions, going into two different cabinets and the fridge, and hooking around and pulling something out, and then spin on a dime in a kind of like pirouette fashion in order to kind of slide over to a table and move everything over. Like the kitchen in the morning as I'm preparing breakfast, that is my dance floor. The movements, I have, like, it's always when I'm alone. So it's very much kind of like the Mystery Men guy, the guy in Mystery Men who has the superpower to be invisible when no one's looking at him. But when no one is watching, I can do that so suave. It's a dance. It's like a figure skating routine through my kitchen. But if anyone sees me, I get self-conscious and I don't do it.